Hello there. I'm just recording this video from Huddersfield. Just played against a player I played many times in the past, called Peter Sauer, who I believe is really got great understanding of chess. I'd say his IM strength, certainly strong IM at understanding chess. But the reason I don't think he's an IM, I think he's FM. The reason he didn't make IM was obviously he had a full-time job for most of his career, so he wasn't able to play as many tournaments. But I played a Torre attack, and that's often actually a system I score quite well with. Whenever I employ it, I score quite well with a Torre attack because it's very solid. It's just about where you put your pieces, and I'm quite good at that, I think. But so the opening went. I think I played slightly. The opening went slightly okay for me, but not great. But at some point, uh, I thought his best move order was rather than go d6 was to go knight c6 at some point. Because then if I go bishop c4, he can go d5 in one move, for example. Or yeah, so knight c6 slightly worried me. But he went d6, which was fine. So eventually got this position where he's got a knight on c6, and he goes e5, which is a very interesting move. I thought you might go queen b6 there, because it's slightly awkward how you defend the pawn. If you go queen b3, he could go knight a5 and swap queens. If I go rook b1, he's got bishop f5. And if I go bishop b3, goes knight a5 and wins the bishop pair. But he went e5, which is also playable. I took, so I've got lots. I was also thinking instead of taking on e5, go knight e4. But I took on e5, he took back with a pawn. And then I played I could have taken on f6 and gone knight e4. I did consider that. So I went rook e1 first, queen c7. So at this point I'd considered taking on f6, going knight e4, but then he goes bishop g7, bishop e7, sorry, to stop me going queen d6. And then I thought he's going to go king g7 and f5. So I played bishop b5, which is a slightly strange move, but it does create a possible threat of winning the pawn. But obviously, even if I take on c6, take on e5, he's probably going to have reasonable comp because he's got a bishop pair. But you don't want to lose a pawn for nothing, like a central pawn. So he made a move here. Apparently, knight h5 was the best, but he went rook e8, which is a slight mistake. And then I played, after rook e8, I played knight c4, which is again an awkward move because he doesn't want to go e4 because probably he's going to drop the e4 pawn. But now I'm creating a lot of pressure against e5. So he went knight h5, I went queen d6, he traded, knight takes, rook e6, rook d1, g5. I thought about taking on g5, sacking a piece, but I only briefly considered it. The computer says it's okay, but not better than what I played. I went bishop g3. Oh yeah, he took on g3, so this is a curious moment. Apparently I should go bishop c6 immediately. But I went hg, forgetting he's got this knight d4 move, which apparently was okay for black. So he could go knight d4, temporarily sack a pawn, but then his bishop pair gets activated. That's a tough move to see. I don't think either of us saw that at all during the game, which is quite poor actually. But Peter played rook e7. So here I was thinking a lot about just taking on c8 and going g4. Actually, the computer says knight d2 is the best there. Just with positional domination. Because if he goes bishop e6, I could go bishop c4, for example. It's kind of a grotty position for black. But I saw some tactics, but I kind of miscalculated a little bit. So I took on c6 and went knight d4. Hitting his pawn. If he goes bishop d7, I go knight into f5. A knight on d4 to f5. So he went rook c7. That's the move I misjudged. And then Because originally I thought I could go knight e8, but then he goes rook b7. When I take on g7, for example, he could play. He could even take on d4, or king g7 is also playable, and then b2's hanging. So yeah, this is what I misjudged. So I went knight f5, knight on d4 to f5, and he played bishop e6. And I took on g7, he took that, I'll go rook e5. So very tough defense for black, because if he plays with me like rook d7, I have rook e6, which is winning. A rook d8, rook e6 is again very strong for white. Just win a pawn in the endgame. So it'd be like a pawn up and rook and pawn. So he played... oh yeah, blundered here, which actually originally, when I saw this position from afar, I thought this was a problem, that he takes on a2. This is a problem for white. But as soon as we got that position with rook on e5, I suddenly noticed he can't take on a2 because of knight e8 check. But he blundered, so he goes bishop takes a2, because you don't want to suffer just a pawn down for nothing, right? So king f8 was the best defense, when maybe I can play f4 there or something like that. Or knight f5, the computer says. You're just a pawn down. Depressing position to play. But he went king f8. Sorry, he didn't go. He took on a2, and then obviously as soon as he played it, I could tell he realised that he blundered. Because knight e8 wins the exchange straight away, but then he would possibly carry on. It's just completely winning for white though. It's just exchange up for nothing. But rook e8 is even stronger because it wins a whole rook. Like when he takes on e8, I take that on a knight. And he can't go bishop b3, for example, because of rook a8, or even move the rook is also winning. Rook a8, bishop d1, knight e8 check. So I won that game, but it was a very nervy game. I think both of us very nervous. Drew my game in the afternoon yesterday. It was a bit of a disappointing result, but my opponent played pretty well. Now I'm going to get a tough game in the afternoon. Black against somebody pretty tough. Yeah, possibly Peter Wells, possibly Taran. There's other people floating around as well. There's a 1600 on 2.5, but I played him before. He's more like 2300 strength, but because he hasn't played any games, many FIDE rated games, he's only 1600 FIDE, which is ridiculous. I think FIDE should somehow boost these players. This is why my argument should be that all ECF games should be FIDE rated. You should just have one rating system. That way the guy's rating would already be normal. But it's going to take him a lot of games to get to a normal kind of rating where it reflects his strength. So that's a tricky pairing for anyone playing the last round. I could potentially play him, but it's wrong colour. So I don't think I'll play him unless no one else wins. But he might not win himself, because he's also playing somebody quite tough. Also, now something I wanted to mention, like toilet hygiene at chess events is pretty poor. Like when you go to the toilet, there's always like piss on the toilet seats. I mean, we keep talking about AI, right? Like how that's going to develop humans, and we can't even get the basics right, like toilet hygiene. We really should have lessons with that at school. I think it's a British thing, because you go to on the continent or whatever, you don't get that. You know, you go to a tournament like Citages, you don't get piss all over the toilet seat. It's like a British thing. We've got a lack of consideration for others. So it's disgusting. And it's not just a chess thing. I noticed when I went to York Station, and I mentioned that on Twitter, on X, that there was all like piss all over the toilet seats, and people just mistreat the toilet, and they don't care about something. If you're going to have a piss, just lift the toilet up. It's not rocket science. Do you know what I mean? Don't piss all over the toilet. It's disgusting. Anyway, that's something I wanted to mention, that toilet hygiene at tournaments could definitely be improved. But yeah, so I'm carrying on, battling on. I had to book the hotel room for another night because there was a cock-up. Because the thing is, the game started free, and I've had a really long game. I might have an issue getting back. So I figured it's better to stay here for tonight. Even though in theory I'm only about 3 hours away, so I could probably get back tonight. But if I had a really long game, like it's possible to have, like Hebden yesterday had like a 5 hour game almost. If the same thing happened to me, then in theory I can't get back. So on the safe side, it's better just to book the hotel and then travel back on the Monday.